I thank the chair. Mr. President, for 22 years, it has been really a blessing for me to have served with Chris Dodd in the United States Senate as my colleague from Connecticut, as my dear friend, as my legislative partner. I'm going to miss him a lot, as everybody in this chamber will. And I think when we listen to the words that he spoke to us just a few moments ago, how full of wisdom and warmth they were, we know how much we're going to miss him and how much we should consider what has made him not only our great friend, but a truly great senator. Chris mentioned Sherman and Ellsworth, whose pictures are out in the reception area just off the Senate, who crafted the Connecticut Compromise, really created the Senate. I think Chris Dodd, who is the 54th senator from the state of Connecticut in our history, took this institution that Sherman and Ellsworth created in the Connecticut Compromise and made it work to the great benefit of the people of Connecticut and the people of America. Chris Dodd was born to a legacy, an honorable legacy of public service, which he watched, as so many of us did in Connecticut, and of course learned from his father, Senator Thomas J. Dodd. I could say a lot about Senator Dodd, Sr. He was a prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials, a remarkably principled, skillful prosecutor, became a member of the United States Senate. I will tell you that as a young man in Connecticut, me, growing up, thinking about a political career, when I heard that Senator Tom Dodd was somewhere within range of where I lived or went to school, I went to listen to him speak. He was a classic orator, an extraordinarily principled man who had a great career here in the Senate. And as we know from the years we've served with Chris, the characteristics that I've described in his father were taken and put to extraordinary good use here in the Senate. Chris's words were very important, and as Senator McConnell said, should be studied by all of us and anybody thinking about coming to the Senate. We all talk about this being an age of hyper-partisanship. But I think that misses the point, because as Chris said, he's a partisan in the best sense of the word. He's a principled partisan. He's passionate about what he believes in. But he knows that we come to a point when partisanship ends and you've got to get something done for the public that was good enough to send you here. And over and over again, any of us on both sides of the aisle who have watched Chris work a bill know how persistent, how open, how anxious he was to try to find common ground, yes, to compromise, because ultimately this is, our work is the art of the possible. You can, somebody once said to me, the futility of the failure to compromise. There's no result from it. But if you have a goal, a principled goal, you know that you can achieve a significant part of that goal if you can build enough support in this chamber. And time again, Chris Dodd did that. The other reason I think he did it is because of the truth that he spoke in his remarks, which is that beyond the great debates here and the headlines and the sniping back and forth, the Senate, after all, is 100 people who go to work in the same place every day. And your ability to get things done here, as is true in offices and factories all over America and other places of work, your ability to get things done here is affected in great measure by the trust your colleagues have in you, and even the extent to which they like you. And I think by those standards, Chris Dodd has been totally trustworthy. As we were taught when we grew up in Connecticut politics, his word was it has been his bond. and his personality has warmed each of us as we've gone through the labors that we go through here. Chris Dodd has served longer in the United States Senate than any senator from Connecticut. So on this day, and he'll forgive me a little bit of hyperbole, I would guess, just as a matter of friendship and faith, that he's probably accomplished more than any other senator in the history of the state of Connecticut. And he's done it because he cares about people, and when he takes something on, he simply does not quit. I just want to tell you one story. 1989, Chris met a woman named Eva Bunnell at her church in East Haddam, Connecticut. She told him her daughter had been born with a rare brain disease and was fighting for her life in the intensive care unit. But when her husband asked his employer for time off to be with his wife and critically sick infant, he was told to go home and never come back, leaving the family without income or health insurance. The story, all too common at the time, is just the kind of injustice that has repeatedly moved Chris Dodd to action. He authored, as we know, the Family Medical Leave Act, worked, as I said before, on compromises that made it acceptable to a large number of people, stuck with it through 2 presidential vetoes, and then finally saw it signed into law by President Clinton in 1993. Today, the records will show that more than 50 million people have been able to take time off from work to care for a loved one or give birth to a child without fear of losing their jobs. That is a lifetime achievement, but it's only one of many such achievements that Chris Dodd has had here in the United States Senate. Senator Reid talked about this last session of his Senate career: extraordinary accomplishment, healthcare reform, Wall Street reform, the Iran sanctions bill, which came out of the Banking Committee, which is, in my opinion, the strongest such bill we've ever passed and the last best hope to avoid the necessity to take military action against Iran. This is just the kind of record that Chris has built up. Up until this time, I've been serious. And when you talk about Chris Dodd, it would be wrong to be totally serious, because one of the things that we're going to miss here is that booming laugh and the extraordinary sense of humor. I've had many great laughs with colleagues here. I've probably given too many laughs to colleagues as I think about it, but I have never laughed louder or more than I have over the years with Chris Dodd. And perhaps it's not totally appropriate on the Senate floor, but just I have 2 of his comments, one about me that I want to share, and I noticed the comedian is here, the former comedian. A while ago, only Chris Dodd would have told an audience here in Washington that he thought enough time had passed in my career that he could reveal that Joe Lieberman actually had not been born Jewish, but was born a Baptist and raised a Baptist. And then when I got into politics and saw how many events I'd have to go to on Friday night or Saturday, I converted to Judaism to be able to take the Sabbath off. And then Chris says, and you know, I'm thinking of converting to Judaism myself, but only for the weekends. Another quick quip. As my colleagues in the Senate know, it's our honor to walk our state colleague down the center aisle here in the Senate to be sworn in for a new term. The first time I did that, we walked arm in arm, as we've always have, and Chris turned to me and said, you know, Joe, there are people who are worried that you may be the only person I'll ever walk down an aisle with. Well, fortunately, that was not true, because Chris and Jackie got married and have had these 2 wonderful daughters, Grace and Christina, who have provided so much joy and satisfaction and hopefulness to Chris. We're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you personally, but I speak for myself, but I speak, I would bet, for just about everybody in this chamber in saying that we feel so close to you that we know our friendship will go on. And I would say that Chris Dodd leaves, to sum up, leaves an extraordinary Senate career, having achieved a record of results that has benefited the people of Connecticut and America in untold ways, that he has a wonderful family that he looks forward to spending time with, and he has, so many great years ahead of him, including, I hope and believe, times when he will again be of service to our country. God bless you, Chris, and your family. I yield the floor.
Well done, Joe. Well done.